Well, DDM Tuning has been dethroned as the brightest headlights out there. Currently, now it's HIKARI with these futures. Now, they are a little bit cheaper than the DDMs, and I'm doing a full review, so watch the rest of the video and you can see how much brighter they are, because they are definitely brighter than the 55 V2s and the 65 watts. I don't know how long that title will last. Alright, so we got the two HIKARI super bright future LEDs. This is high beam right there, and then we got the low beams. So here we'll do a little unboxing because everybody is really into those for some reason. Let's see what's in it. Got a manual, and then we have the lights. So these are the low beams. They're actually kind of lightweight. I like the color. So this design apparently is really good and innovative for projecting far and distance. So it's a little bit unique. I'll have to see how it is, so we'll go to some testing soon. These are interesting though. I've never seen a double one where it goes out one way, back out this. Big pain with changing headlights in the Ioniq. Every single time I want to change the bulb, I have to take the whole entire front bumper off, and I have to pull the headlight assemblies out, and then I got to unscrew everything. I also had to get custom dust caps so the LEDs would actually fit in it. Again, this is mostly just an Ioniq problem, but you know, you got to do what you do for the brightest headlights. So right. Obviously, auto adjust does not help with the iPhone. Alright, so these are the HIKARI futures. These low beams, extremely bright, put a lot of light on the ground, but they also project really far. So far, they're the brightest LEDs that I've tested from any company when it comes to the low beams. Really hard to see. There's not much auto settings, but really good coverage. Here's the high beams though. That's they're also extremely bright. So here's the low beams again, extremely bright. Had to crank up the ISO on this old DSLR camera. As you can see, really good coverage everywhere, really focused beam pattern. Now here's the high beams. They definitely brighten everything up. You get more scattered light in all directions. I don't know if they're better high beams than the DDM Tuning 65s. Back to lows. Go in this little neighborhood. The thing is, the 65 DDMs that I tested, their high beams seemed to be better when it came to distance. They like focused really far, but you didn't get as much bright light on the sides of where you're going. Where this, when you go high beam, it's more even. There's not as much of a flood spotlight. Definitely, you can see really, really far. I mean, these are one of the brightest high beams that you could get in the world. Color temperature matches, looks more OEM versus like an aftermarket high beam when you do throw them on, because the other high beams, they kind of don't really blend as well as some other brands do when it comes to matching the low beams. But these, if you're trying to have that whole OEM look and you do high beam and low beam and you want everything to be the same color temperature, not overlap with other lights, because sometimes you get the lights that overpowered, this just complements the low beams a lot more. Pretty good. Back to lows. This is not a night vision camera. Look at that though. Whew. the highs. It just makes it look like you have one big continuous bright light going everywhere versus like putting your high beams on. So you could probably forget that you have your high beams on if you're not paying attention to your dash because it's so clean and flawless. But when it comes to the low beam, it's definitely really, really good. And it doesn't seem like it scatters light as much far forward or above and around you as other brands. Here's the front, what they look like. This is low beam only. Testing online says though that they're on the bluer end. I mean, you can kind of see that with the glares, but for the most part they're pretty white. Look at that. Look at that projector is going that far, and I mean, you can already see the sharp line, hence benefits of a projector. Still got a lot of lux there in the distance. I mean, I guess I can see some of the blue, but it mostly shows up on camera. To my eyes, it just looks like white light, but the color balance on my camera is making it look a little more blue. You're not going to notice a difference. It's going to look like every other LED. But yeah, the benefits of having projectors versus reflectors is you have this sharp cutoff line so you don't blind other people, which I would recommend. Do not put these headlights in your old Honda Civic from 2002. You're just gonna mess things up for everybody else. Put these in a high-end car or a modern, newer car that has projector style housings. Now I am going to do a little test and put my old high beams in one headlight housing and then leave the HIKARIs in this and see how it looks when it comes to high beams, because I'm getting kind of mixed signals, and I will let you guys see the results soon. I mean, look how bright it is when you're up against a bush. Jeez. There's the high beams. Really, really bright, like I said. So I'm doing an experiment tonight. I put the old 65 watt LEDs from DDM Tuning in the right headlight, and then I still have the HIKARIs on the left. Here's just the high beams. So we're gonna see tonight which ones actually project farther, because it just seems like the 65s were more like spotlights, where these kind of went out more. So here's a side-by-side during the daytime in a parking garage, so let's wait till nighttime. So I haven't really stabilized the 65 watt LED, so it's in a little bit lopsided, but you can see it's the bigger one that's on the right. It's a little higher though. The HIKARI's down there, bottom left. This one just seems like there's more light. High beams. Hard to see, but it seems like the right side is getting this tree a lot more illuminated than the left side. Still got the HIKARI lows. High beams. HIKARI's on the left, and the DDM Tuning high beam is on the right. Can you guys see a difference? Low. the company. Here we are driving around a pretty dark residential area. High beams. So it looks like the left light is actually stronger. The right one is just higher and a little more spread out. Alright, I put the HIKARI back in the right side, so let's see what it looks like when I put on the high beam. Actually think it may be a little bit stronger. It just seemed like the other one was stronger at first because it was angled more up, while this one is more leveled. Do high beam again. Here's that same neighborhood from last night. High beams more centered. I mean, you can honestly barely tell a difference, but the color temperature matches, so it does seem a lot better. Here we are against a wall. High beams. Good amount of light for city driving. They're driving in the middle of Alabama in some forested hills now. iPhone 11's not got the best night vision. But if a deer hops out anywhere, he's not gonna surprise me. I'm gonna be able to see them in all directions, everywhere. High beams. It's almost like police search spotlights when you're up close. You can see trees and mountains really far in the distance. These are just the low beams. Really good distance. High beams. It's almost like you don't even really need the high beams as much with these versus other headlights that I've had where the high beams really do assist. You just get more upper vision, but it doesn't really make the road any brighter. Good beam pattern. So currently these are just light years ahead of the other headlights out there. They get enough coverage over on the floor, and then they get plenty of coverage like in the distance. So you know, you got up close light and then farther away light. I was actually thinking that the high beams were a little bit kind of bright, like not as bright as the 65 watts. So I put those in, and as you can see, they were almost the same. It's just that the low beams are so bright that you pretty much have no need for high beams with how bright these headlights are. So when you're trying to really get distance, this is probably like meeting the maximum threshold. Now the high beams do help because, you know, they're technically called high beams, so they give more coverage up. So you're not getting more distance, you're just getting more light that's at a higher eye level. So essentially if you're going for distance, high beams make no difference at this point.